When you've been told to show your work in your math class or any of your other classes, you might say, why do I have to show it if I can do it all in my head? I know that I'm getting the right answer. If I get the right answer, why does it matter that I take the extra time to do it? What I want to do is I want to tell you some reasons why. I put 10 reasons on here. This isn't all of the reasons, but it's 10 reasons that I feel are fairly important. Number one, it shows that you understand the problem. When you're going to school and your teacher gives you a problem or a test or a homework assignment, it's not just to get the answer. We want to make sure that you're understanding what's happening. Occasionally, it does help catch people who just want to write the answer down because they copied it. But just because you have a correct answer doesn't mean we assume that you've cheated. We just don't know whether you truly understand the entire process or if you just kind of, stumbled upon the right answer by doing part of it here, part of it there, doing some shortcut that really doesn't get you the understanding of what the entire problem is. So, shows you understand it. Number two, it shows your thought process and your method. There's usually a ton of ways to do every single problem. And as an instructor, I like to know what method you decide to use for a couple reasons. Number one, it helps me. Sometimes I wouldn't have used that method, and I look at something that a student's done, and I say to myself, that is a really good way to do this problem, and I wouldn't have done it that way. And so it's nice to see the thought process that other people do. It can help you when a problem gets difficult. Sometimes you're not sure how to do a problem, and if you just read the problem, look at it, and you don't write anything down, you're never going to get anywhere. I don't know what to write. Start writing something. Start putting something down. And if you don't have kind of an outline to do that, you're not going to know where to get started. So if you practice showing your work, you can eventually start muddling through, get a couple things down, and maybe that'll spark something. And you'll be able to continue on with the problem after a couple ideas have sparked. Number four, you can develop these skills when a problem is simple. So even if you say, I don't need to show my work on this problem, I knew how to do this one was easy, it was simple, I could do it in my head, that's not good enough for me. When something is simple, what that means is you should be doing it the proper way so that when something gets difficult, you'll have the skills and the habits to go through and do that a proper way so that it can benefit you when it's a difficult problem. So use this time when you have a simple problem, even if you're in calculus and you're doing a pre-algebra problem, go through it, write everything down, and practice it so that in your calculus class, you can be a little bit more successful and you'll know how to show your work and maybe solve problems a little bit more efficiently. Number five, practice getting what's in your head on paper. We're doing all this stuff in our head. Sometimes we make mistakes in our head, which we'll get to later. But a large part of teaching and being a student is seeing what's going on inside the student's head. Or even once you get a job, the people that you work with want to know what's going on inside your head. They just don't want to have you plop an answer on the desk and say, hey, the answer is 37. They want to know, how did you get that? Can we trust that? We want to know what's going on. And so this is a great time to practice. Even if you solved it in your head, you look at the problem and you say, I know what the answer is 37. That's fine. Now, get a piece of paper out and actually start writing down what you did in your head step by step, all your assumptions, everything, so that others can see what's going on inside your head. Number six, it's easier to find your errors. Everybody makes errors. It's just part of life. And there are times where you'll make an error and you won't realize it. And so you'll say, hey, this is the answer. But if you can't look back at your work, you can't look through your steps, it's going to be harder to find that error. And if you find out that your answer is wrong, you kind of have to start over completely again. If you have it all written out and you find out where your error is, you can keep everything that looks good and just continue on once the error was made. If you need to study and review for a test or for a project, if you write everything out, then it's easier to review. You can use these as notes. Instead of, I did all this homework and all I have is this piece of paper that has a list of answers, you can actually get it out and you can look through your steps. You can see how you graphed things. You can see how you went through the process of your algebra. You can see how your variables changed. You can see all those things on a piece of paper rather than just saying, hey, it's time to study. Go ahead and look over your past homework assignments, and all you have is a list of numbers. Number 8, you have proof that you used the correct method and it can be verified by others. There are always multiple ways to solve a problem, but there are innumerable ways of doing a problem incorrectly. Sometimes it's some little bit of algebra that I did wrong. Maybe I made an assumption that was incorrect. And if you write it out and somebody looks at it, they can say, this step right here, this one isn't right. You're not allowed to do this. So other people can look at your methods and they can verify what you've done. Number 9, you can help others learn. I remember when I was in graduate school, I shared an office with 8 or 9 other people, and it was a pretty small room. We were basically stacked on top of each other, and we were all physics majors, and we were taking the same classes because we were in graduate school together, and we were doing our homework, and we'd get an answer, and we'd all get the same answer for the most part, but we realized that we were all doing it different methods, and sometimes even once we had the answer, we'd spend hours just talking about, well, how did you do this, and how did you do that, and it helped us see from others' perspectives. And I think it made us better in the long run, because now instead of just having the one way that we did it, even though it worked, I had other things that I could use later, other tools, other methods that I could use in my later classes as things even got more difficult. Lastly, showing your work can make sure that you don't skip steps and that you're explicitly thinking about every single step of the problem. It's a brain workout. And if you're in school, you definitely want to get that brain workout. It's not just about passing and saying, I got the correct answer, give me my A and move on. It's not a checklist. It's the process. Get something out of the class. Make sure that your brain's working, that you know how to get from this very first step to the next step, to the next step, to the next step, and that you can logically do that and do that systematically and do it every single time.